And when I'm the clinician, I'm the leader, I'm the mentor, I have to serve that person as much as possible to set them up for success. So Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. For all new listeners, welcome, welcome. For those who've heard my content in the past, welcome back. Today's a great episode. I'm coming off of a big high. I just had a big conference over the week, and I am coming full force with just a lot of content, just a lot of momentum, a lot of motivation, and I want to share with you all the things that I'm learning and that I'm sharing with my team, my staff, my wife, everybody, everybody, literally everybody, even my kids if I can. But yeah, before I get into the podcast, what is happening? What is new in life? I literally just went to a 2-day seminar on just personal development, professional development, and just learning a lot about myself and how I can become a better just mentor, leader, father, all the above. And if any of you in my circle, you know I'm obsessed with that. And obsessed is a good word. We all have poison. We all have our poison. We all have something that we are truly passionate about, and you just can't stop thinking about it. And for me, it's self-development, growing. You name it, I'm into it. Leadership, I'm into it. I just love it, and I can't stop thinking about it. I don't know about you guys. For some of you, it's like PT and all these other things, and your patients and your clients, your athletes. That's me. Like it's all the same. It's actually all the same because even though you're talking about your patients and clients and athletes, really comes down to is like you're trying to develop yourself so you can improve their quality of life. So for some of us, we're looking for the skill set to help their life. And then some of us are looking for the skill set to improve our life to be able to help others. There's two different ways of looking at it. They're very much the same thing. So at my current stage of life, because I'm mentoring so many PTs, I have the honor to be able to do this, and we've gotten to a point where we're trying to impact so many people. It really comes down to learning more about yourself, and you'll learn this as you go on. And today's episode is very much about that. Uh, so for me, my obsession is about myself because I realize that the way I communicate, the way I lead, the way I carry myself, the way I do everything impacts everybody around me. And that includes your patients and clients. And today has everything to do with how you view their response to what you do. And all my episodes are very different. And today is really about why you're not setting them up for success or what they need, like that little missing piece on who's dropping the ball, why aren't they doing their stuff, why aren't outcomes being achieved, what is it that they're missing? And I want to give you 3 things, and they're very, very fundamental. But let me go back. What else is new in life? I took that 2-day seminar, and I have some great stuff I'm trying to launch, and we're actually looking at hosting our first course of the year, either February, March, or April. I'm just trying to lock down a date. For those of you interested, let me know. Dr. Chris at drchrisgarcia.com. I'll be releasing that. All my content I'll release on my newsletter and emails. So if you don't have that, go to drchrisgarcia.com/mailing-list and just get on there. That's where I'll make all the big announcements, the times, the dates, the events, everything that's coming in. So that's what's exciting. All right, back to the podcast. So what is it that you're missing? What components? I don't care if you're a student, a new grad, a veteran PT. We're all doing this at different times, and this comes from a topic that I had with one of my team members. I said somebody wasn't getting the outcomes that they wanted, and they were getting a little frustrated with that. So they're like, Chris, what am I missing? And I said, well, what have you done? And they went through this whole thing. And I said, it's very clear you're missing one piece. And they were very surprised that it was so fundamental. And I thought, well, if that's somebody who's been on my team for a little while and they're making that they're making some assumptions and they're missing some critical things that we're all probably doing that at some stage. And I find myself finding these same errors as well because we're human and we think that everybody understands what we're saying and doing and they just don't get it sometimes. And well, that's because we easily put it onto them and like, hey, they just don't get it. I don't understand. They just don't get me. They just don't understand. And there's a saying that I have on my team, everything is your fault. Truly, everything is your fault. And with the utmost respect, I say that professionally because anytime that a team member doesn't understand me, or a patient or a parent or somebody doesn't understand what I'm saying, it's my fault. And that's because I'm not giving them certain things. And when people don't understand what you're saying or doing, whether it's communication or outcomes or exercises, or you're going through their progressions and they just don't get it, it's not their fault. Put as much as you can on yourself and figure that out, versus blaming them and saying like, well, they're not motivated, they don't get it, you know, uh, forget it, whatever they want. So I want to share with you the outline. Here's what I have. In order to get to whatever you want, success, whatever that means, right? So you give somebody a request. I want you to do this homework with you over the week, and I want you to come back and I want you to have completed this. So you have back pain, here's your 3 exercises, come back and I'll see you in a week. Okay, sounds good. There's 3 things that I highly recommend you absolutely need to do. And this changed the game when I started using this with my athletes. And it was taught to me a couple years ago, and now I use it very consistent. All right, here it is. In order for somebody to achieve any goal, any of your athletes, anything that you need, I don't care if they're 16, 32, or 50 years old, you have to include 3 things when you have a request. Number 1 is the desired outcome. You have to tell them what the desired outcome is. Okay, I need you to have completed 3 of these exercises, all 3 of them, over the next 7 days. So 3 exercises a day over the next 7 days. You need to do them every day. So my desired outcome is completion of a task within a timeline. All 3 exercises. Or use another outcome. I need you to be 90%, 90% before you can return to play. That is the desired outcome. Everybody needs to have that, right? It's got to be crystal clear. And I think we, as clinicians, we do that. However, there's 2 other pieces that you're missing. So the desired outcome has to be there, right? Like, I need you to lose, if you want to lose 10 pounds in 3-month span, you have to have 1 per week, or whatever that math is, over a 3-month period or 8-month period, or whatever that is. Number 2, you have to have the timeline. So in 7 days, I need you to do all 3 of those exercises. Okay? I need you to lose 1 pound per week for the next 12 weeks to get you there. So now we have the desired outcome and the timeline. I think that all makes sense. What's the last piece? They need all the resources to get there. And I think this is critical. I think we as clinicians will give the desired outcome, like, this is where I need you to be in 6 weeks. But then you also have to keep an account. They have to have all the resources that make sense for them, that they need. So, for instance, let me give an example. If you give a patient, a client, an athlete a written exercise program, right? But they're technology driven. They don't like paper. It just doesn't make sense to them. They're not going to do it, right? You just know they're like, don't you have this in digital format? They're like, sorry, this is just an old school program that we have. You've already lost them because you had the desired outcome, you had the timeline, but the resources didn't match what's going to make it easier for them. So that resource component is really the critical piece. So for me, I'm very digital friendly. If you know me, I have a disdain for paper. I think we can get away with it. Just get rid of it completely. That's just my own personal preference, but not everybody thinks and acts like me. And when I'm the clinician, I'm the leader, I'm the mentor, I have to serve that person as much as possible to set them up for success. So these 3 critical things are going to be so different for all people. And the most critical component is the resources that you provide. So when I have athlete, pro athlete, whatever it may be, we just had a pro athlete see us recently, that no matter what I do, I have to be able to have a verbal outcome that I want done and a timeline. But then also the resources the information, whether that's a text message, an email, a written paper, or a video log of the exact things that I need to make it conducive to their learning style and how they're going to implement it. And that's the most critical piece. I think that we as clinicians, our first instinct is just to give them like, okay, well, listen, have it done by this, at this many times this many weeks. I think we're like quick to jump onto that, right? That's easy. That's a plan of care. That's exercise prescription, whatever it is. But the missing piece is the resource, and that's tailored to them. I'm a big proponent of taking videos of people's corrective exercises. That's just like, I love it. But that's the way I respond. So when a client comes in or an athlete comes in, I'll say, hey, here's your corrective exercises. Give me your phone. I'll record that, and then have video format plus my audio, and I'll tell them, and then that way they can have it in their phone. But some people don't think like that. Some people need a different format, and it took me a while until I started asking them, what is that going to work for you? Because it works for me, I'm just going to give it to you. And I probably went 2-3 years doing that. And I really didn't see it as like, well, why wouldn't they? But some people aren't very technology driven, or that's not how they're going to remember. Some people need to have a paper printout and put it onto their refrigerator or on a wall somewhere so that they can remember, or in their office, like right by their desk. And because we're always on our phones and you oversaturate photos or videos or whatever it is, it gets lost in their feed. And so for them, it's hard to find that. So I was like, and it took somebody to come in and say, hey, Chris, I can't even find it in my scroll history. And I said, you know what? I didn't even think about that. I'm so sorry. I'll tell you what, how do you learn best? And it was that moment where I was like, wait a minute. I hadn't asked people, how do they learn best prior to me even giving it to them? And some of you might be saying, okay, you know what? The only format I can give is paper. I understand that. How about maybe you write it down, or you take a picture of it, or airdrop a PDF of it. You just got to find a different format that they're going to be conducive to that. And ask them, how do you learn best? And how realistically, how are you going to do this? I can give you the timeline and everything else, but what is it going to take? Then I started doing Google Sheets or Excel sheets, and I just shared the document with them, and that way we can kind of both correspond, and they can go on and see their programming, and they can add comments and all this other stuff. And some people, I realized, there were some barriers to that. That they don't use Gmail, and Excel file isn't shareable. It was just I had to find different resources, and what set me up for success was that one question, that one pivotal thing: how do you learn best? How can I send this to you? What is gonna set you up so you do this consistently? What is it? And that moment when I did that, I realized there was years I didn't do it, and I just it got me right to the stomach. It hurt. And no matter who you are and how long you've been practicing or how long you haven't been practicing, you're gonna do this at some point. And all I'm doing is giving you a friendly reminder that this is real. Every athlete, every stage. Literally, we had a pro athlete here this morning. Asking us for help on a certain case, and they had injured something, and they were trying to figure out what it is that they needed, and they had a short timeline. So we gave them information, but the problem is we had to make sure that those resources were in a format that they were going to benefit from it. In a very short timeline, you're dealing with a lot of people's nerves, anxiety, stress, and what you want to do is make it so simple that they don't even have to think. And asking them is so critical. Now you might say oh, this is straightforward. I've known this. However, are you doing it with every single athlete? Every single one, and setting them up for success. It takes a lot of work and a lot of planning. If you haven't heard my podcast on Plan A, B, and C, you need to. Plan A, B, and C. You always have to have a different plan. And for every person, I tailor sessions. Every single person. Why? Because it sets them up for success. If you care about the people you serve, you're going to do that. And I do. And literally every person, how do you learn? What do you want? Video, written, audio? What's going to help you best? I'll remember. Nope. No, you won't. No. I do not let people just remember. Not happening. Because there's 3 things you need: the resources, the timeline, and desired outcome. All 3 of those have to be in any form of expectation, whether that's a homework or goals. And just for food for thought, I meet with my team members every 3 months, and we do quarterly performance enhancement protocols, right? So that way, when my team is, trying to get better at their craft, and they want to get better at mobilizations or whatever it is, I'm always checking in with them. what do you need to help set you up for success? So in 3 months, you're going to be able to this, and then what do you need in between to be able to set you up for success? It's kind of like SMART goals, if you've ever done that. And giving people those resources is the most critical piece. So when people say, I'll remember it, don't worry. No, you won't. You don't even remember what you had for breakfast. Like, what'd you do yesterday for lunch? What was your workout 3 days ago? I don't know. Exactly. It's too much. In this today's world, between podcasts, social media, uh, you know, um, the news. I mean, there's just so much content being applied to us or just saturated with us that people need like old school ways of doing things. Think about yourself, right? You've probably had you read two books, listened to another podcast, hopefully my podcast. You've been on social media, you watched a video, you were on Netflix, so you have all this content coming at you. Could you remember, page 28 of the last book you read? Did it really sink in with you? Were you multitasking? Were you driving? You have just too much information. So sometimes that's why some of us still have like written planners. Why? Because it's just so much content. You need a central place, or you use it on your phone, but you need a central place where you can always refer back to, and that's called your resource. And your calendar is your outline or guideline, and then your outcomes are on there, right? And your timeline. So when you have all those things, now you're set up for success. But people who say like, I don't have a calendar, I just remember everything. I don't have a planner, I don't have a calendar. You know what they're doing? They're floating. They're in space somewhere. And I think that there's no desired outcome. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're listening to this podcast, you're definitely after the outcomes and a desired outcome. Like you want to be the best. You want to be a sports PT. You want to be a specialist. You want to be known in your community. You want to be at the best at treating athletes or whoever it is that you want to serve. In order for you to do that, these are the things that are going to set you up for success. This is the same stuff I pump into my team so that they know these are expectations. I'm telling you, you do this with all your athletes. They're going to love it. They're going to hate you for it, but literally, they're going to love it. Why? Because you're keeping them accountable and you're not allowing them to just rely on memory. It's not going to work. I don't care if they're 15 years old or 30 years old. Everyone has a busy lifestyle. What if they're 45 and have a 10-year-old or 15-year-old and they're in school and they're so busy, but in order for them to be set up for success, they're going to have the resource, and it has to be conducive to the way that they function in life. Okay. So the next time an athlete comes in and they're like, hey, what are the 5 things I need to do for training, and how do I get rid of this pain? You're going to give them it, and you're going to give them in any form that matters to them, audio, visual, or like written format. And when they have that, it now is tangible, and they can see it or feel it somewhere, and give them the resource. Now you can say, okay, now you have that. Now you said by next week you're going to be compliant. You're going to do these 3 exercises. If they don't do any of that and you set them up for those 3 things, the only thing missing is just their will to do it, their motivation. If they don't do it and you give them those 3 things, it's motivation. Easy equation to get the most out of your clients: compliance, motivation, intent, all the above. So, ultimately, when I am serving other people and I'm treating, my goal is to, they're coming to see me for a reason. They have motivation. They're there. Sometimes it's going to ebb and flow based on their outcomes. And sometimes I think that we overlook how good we're actually trying to get somebody better. Because I think it's easy to say, well, they're just not motivated. They don't want to see me. Well, how? Or is it that you're just not setting them up for success, where you're not giving them the right resources? Yeah, you're telling them that you want them to do these things, but what if you give them a paper and they don't function like that? Like, what if you're just not setting people up for success? You ever think about that? I have. And I see it regularly. I see people, and it doesn't matter if it's a dentist, it doesn't matter if it's a physician or a surgeon. I mean, I've had clients who come to see me and they're like, yeah, I was in a daze and went after surgery, and they gave me all the precautions and everything, but like, I don't remember. I was under anesthesia, and they gave me paper, video. I have no information about it. And the physician might have done stuff and set them up in their own version, but the reality is that patient or client is not set up for success because they literally have no idea. They don't remember. They weren't given any written documentation. It was all verbal. It was under the wrong circumstances. So ultimately, are you doing everything you possibly can to get the outcomes that you want? I don't think in every aspect. It might be your personal goals. Think about like if you're a clinician, you're motivated. If you don't have somebody else giving you those things, so maybe you meet with your boss or your mentor, whoever it is, and they say, hey, I want you to take your CSCS exam in 3 months. So we have a desired outcome. We have a timeline. What are the resources? Okay. Uh, what's your exact plan on how you're going to manage this? And they say, and you say, I'm just going to study on the weekends. Okay. What time? How many hours? What chapters? What book? Now you need the resources. You're going to read these 3 books. Every week you're going to read 20 pages of each one of these books every single Saturday for 2 hours each. And in 12 weeks, you're going to take that exam. Now, setting you up for success is really going through and diving deep on each one of those goals. And if you're looking to maximize your potential, you have to. So at the start of this, I said, I'm digging deep. I'm really focusing myself and trying to become the best leader and mentor I possibly can. Now I can easily say, well, the people I mentor, they're just not getting it. They're just not. I mean, it's their fault. They're just not them. They're just a student and they're not ready, or they're a veteran PT and they're stuck in their ways, or they're a new grad and they don't know yet. Guess what? That's my fault. I have to set them up for success, and that's what I'm expecting of the people I mentor, just like yourselves. And so it all starts with the people you serve. For me, it's getting other PTs to be the best they possibly can. For you, it's getting your patients and clients to the nth degree, get them back to return to sport. And when you have people who are motivated, this works. The equation is magic because they're willing to do it. The missing piece is the motivation. And if that's there, these 3 things need to set you up. And the one thing that you're probably not giving them is the exact resources in the exact way that they need to be done. So there you have it. Got me all fired up because this is where I'm at professionally. This is where I'm at, pushing people and creating accountability for themselves and making sure they have the resources to set them up for success. And you need to as well. So I hope that helps in your professional career, wherever you are. These are the challenges you're going to have. And if you're not there, you will be soon. And you'll get to a point where you're like, man, just no one's getting better. It's been a whole week or a whole month, or I just don't have people who are getting better. Guess what? You got to look inside. Look at yourself. Okay. All right, guys. I am off to hang out with my family. I hope you guys are doing well. I will catch you guys on the next episode. Take care.